Heyo and welcome to another episode of Build&Battle Season 2, our Manor Lords Let's Play, where we will build a beautiful medieval city while battling off bandits, brigands, and no-good doers. In the last episode, we raced to raise enough funds for the king's tax. If you happened to miss last week's episode and want to go see how we strategized our wealth and settlement growth to keep up with the king's tax, then click on the info card above, or check out the entire Build&Battle playlist Season 2 down in the description. This week, we will continue to balance our treasury budget against the king's tax by fine-tuning our taxes as well as settling selbits. So if you're excited to dig your fingers into our settlers' wealth, then stick around till the end of the video. Alright, so let's jump right on into this because I am wicked excited to get to settle selbits today, and I don't want to dawdle, I want to get right into it. So to be able to do that, we need enough treasury, 1, to cover our king's tax, but 2, to also be able to actually settle it, which I believe to settle selbits we need, I think it's 250 treasury. Just want to check really quickly. Yeah, 250. So to do that, we need to start raising enough money. Last week, we went about raising funds for the king tax by raising the wealth of our territories and then using the tax and the increased wealth as a multiplier. Unfortunately, we were just shy of what we needed to pay the king's tax, and luckily we were not penalized too heavily. I do think that was a valid strategy. However, I want to prioritize settling selbits today and taking advantage of that sweet fertile land that we have going on over here. So if I kind of back out and take a look here, yeah, we've got so much emmer, flax, barley. It's pretty good. And then the rye. So good. But I mainly want this barley because then we will have enough tavern supply if we import it to New Anamaruth to start leveling up more level 3 burgage plots, which won't only just give us more family, but more wealth. So I want to start by adjusting our taxes, and I figured let's start in our first settlement of New Anamaruth. So if we come over to our manor house here and kind of just take a look at the taxes, I want to start by raising it in small increments and kind of find a good balance between the approval rating, which it actually still says we're in selbit, so let's try and get that back to New Anamaruth. There we go. So I want to try, coming back over here, I want to try to find a balance between our approval rating with our taxes and getting enough tax that we're actually beginning to honestly make enough money without having to go massively on our expansion. So I think where we should start is probably at 5%, and I'm going to time lapse us out for probably at least 1 or 2 months here, just to kind of see how it plays out with the actual approval rating. So I think we might actually be able to go even higher than 5%, especially in New Anamaruth since it's so well established. Both the church and the tavern are helping us pretty well as a supplied market stall give us some really high approval ratings that I don't really need to have that high in New Anamaruth. So let's jump down here, let's pop this up to 10, and let's simulate that one more time. So 10% ended up being actually a pretty good number in New Anamaruth. Each time the month goes over, we do end up taking a bit of a hit, especially in the taxation, down to about 70%. I'm still thinking that's pretty darn good, honestly. So let's come on over to Cordovia. If we're doing good over in New Anamaruth because we have a level 2 church, a tavern, and in all honesty, just a well-established city, I think Cordovia will probably make it just fine if we start them at 5. And then once we start getting level 3 burgage plots in Cordovia, then we can up them to 10% as well. All right, so now that we've adjusted our taxes, let's give the game a little bit of time to accumulate some more wealth in our treasury. And I thought it might be a good idea to kind of come in and focus a bit on Cordovia and its growth, especially because with all the development we did last episode, we were lucky enough to gain 2 development points in Cordovia. So I threw it out to you guys to pick what points we should get. I think this idea here by Shiny Egg Garden was wicked good. I thought starting with the foraging tree would be a really good idea, especially since Cordovia is already very heavy on its foraging. Now, yes, I want to eventually talk about getting forest management and probably trapping, but I think what excited me most about that comment was the beekeeping and the advanced beekeeping. So, admittedly, I'm gonna grab the beekeeping and the advanced beekeeping. This way we can trade this with the other territories. And I think the honey is under, it's not under crafting material. I can't remember if it's under food. Yeah, it's under food. Okay. We can export this to the other territories for food in general. And we could probably even sell it for a healthy price. I can't remember what that price was, so give me 1 second. Yeah, so we could also export it for 3 gold. Not as high as like if you export, you know, some military stuff, I think. But still I think it just works perfectly for Cordovia itself. All right, admittedly that's not the most strategic reasoning, but I liked the idea of keeping bees. So let's come on in and let's actually build those apiaries and start getting some honey. Now the question is, where do we want to put it? I thought right here wouldn't be a bad idea. But I kind of want to just see if we try to fit the tavern in here, where can we sneak these apiaries? Probably could up near the foraging hut. Ooh, we could fit that right in there. Alright, sits. Wasn't planning on building that, but I want to preserve that space. Now back to these apiaries. That's such a hard word to say. Apiary. It's like if you try to say it 5 times over, it's definitely a tongue twister. So this is going to be some weird logicking. Alright guys, there's one for the coffee tally for the day. Unfortunately, it's quite late at night when I'm recording this, so no caffeine for Nama. Let's put some apiaries right in this area. I think having them kind of cornered in with our second marketplace that I've put in here wouldn't be a bad idea. On top of that, whenever I think of beekeeping, mainly just because the people probably in my area, a lot of them are beekeepers, to me it doesn't seem like a bad idea to keep them near some housing. So let's put, how about 1 there and 1 there, because we won't be able to fit. Oh, we can fit a 3rd. Well, that just happened. We might end up deleting those in a second. I gotta see how many people end up employing each one. All right, so let's take a look at these. That's actually a lot of employees. So I think I am going to actually demolish this one really quickly here. And we'll probably put just maybe a house. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. So we'll put a house in there once the supplies has kind of been taken away. But let's get at least 1 person in each of these. And then that way, we're bringing in some honey. All right, guys. So I really want to try to get our new territory in Selbitz up and running before, or at least during, this fall season. I want to get the grounds, the fields plowed and harvesting and ready to go for year 12 is basically my whole goal for today. So let's see if we can cheese the taxes a little bit. I'm going to stay in Cordovia because it has the most regional wealth right now with 1,186 gold in comparison to New Amaruth, which is, kind of recovering a little bit with 416. We also have an 80% approval rating, and if it drops for a little bit of time, I'm really not too worried about it. So let's be risky and see what happens. Okay, that hardly did anything. I don't think that's something that can be sustained over a long period of time, but you can cheese the taxes in this game. The fact that we just got away with a 25% land tax is kind of really funny. Alright, let's give our people of Cordovia a bit of a tax break and, let them recuperate from completely having their wealth stolen from them by their manor lady. Alright everyone, the time is here to finally settle Selbits and start reaping the rewards of fertile lands and deep mines. But before we do that, let's change our territory's name. In the last episode, I asked everyone to jump over to the community tab and vote for their favorite names for this new territory. And the winner has been decided, and now this territory will be known as Rivermouth. Funny enough, this name was our second place winner when we settled Cordovia, and it almost lost to Pinedale. So thank you everyone who participated. It was fun to watch the polling battle. And while we're in the development tree, let's talk about our strategy for Rivermouth. Originally, I wanted to take advantage of the deep mining node on our rich iron ore deposit and trade the good to New Amaruth. Since our pit has 2,138 units, I think that is actually going to be way more than enough to give our soldiers new weapons for a little while. So I figured let's explore the farming branch instead. Rivermouth has great fertility, so I'm picturing an aesthetic little town overlooked by the capital's manor house with vast, lush farm fields. Since these fields will be big, I want the heavy plow node because this will enable an ox at the farmhouse for significantly faster and more efficient plowing. Then, to capitalize on our fallowed fields, I want fertilization as this node will allow us to use the fallowed fields for sheepies and it will restore the fertilization. As such, we will want a livestock trading post and our clothing supply will probably be flax and wool. Possibly just wool so we can focus the flax in New Amaruth or the fields for just barley and wheat. This also means we may benefit from the sheep breeding node, but let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. I haven't really dug my fingers into this node yet, so I'm interested to hear your opinions and experiences with this node, and kind of just what you think and whether or not you think Rivermouth would benefit from it. I really do not know if we will see this territory gain more than 2 development points, as it's going to be primarily fields, but if we do grow that much, I want to be prepared and with a plan. So let's start building, and I am going to begin by coming in with our settlement, and I want us to start with the smallest allowed resources as I still want to be careful of our treasury and the king's upcoming tax. Next, we need to prioritize getting this settlement up and running with some berries, water, a marketplace, storage, and housing for at least 5 families. We will also need lumber so we can continue to build, so let's actually just time-lapse all of this in and get everything up and running. Alrighty everyone, I think that will just about wrap up today's episode. If you enjoyed, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Today we were able to close the gap on our King's Tax and settle a new territory of Rivermouth with 4 fields as starting points for the first year of our harvest. Will our budding settlement make it through the first winter? Tune in next week to find out, and as always, I hope everyone has a phenomenal week.